What's your ETH thesis?
Worthy of debating if it's going to cut it, because it's just intuitive that it's not going to work. L2s have basically nothing to do with Ethereum. I've actually tweeted many times, quote, the future of Ethereum is Coinbase. I stand by that.
But Pump's obviously, I think, for now, been the king of token creation.
Pump has caught lightning in a bottle. We just missed it. They have built a great centralized exchange. They are getting Binance to run for their money. The market's evolved, and our expectations have evolved on what these things should do. And Hyperliquid, I find to be very backwards looking. This is actually a very compelling opportunity to really build the future.
𝗏𝗪 Samani is one of the most influential investors in the crypto space. His fund, Multicoin Capital, has been probably the most successful fund in crypto. And recently, they announced that they are part of a Solana treasury company, which has since raised $1.65 billion in the first raise and then another $4 billion in a subsequent raise. Now, 𝗏𝗪's been on a roadshow doing interviews with many outlets, and so I thought I needed to dig a lot deeper than the other outlets. We spoke about things that he hasn't spoken about in a long time. We got his views on Pump.fun, we got his views on ETH, we got his views on Sol, we got his views on what's going to move when his DAT actually starts operating. It's a fascinating interview. If you've never listened to any of our interviews, trust me, listen to this one interview because I think it's the best interview that I've ever done. Just before we get into the interview, just guys, remember that our Friday Banters are sponsored by NordVPN. This is the VPN that actually protects crypto people. If you're not surfing with a VPN, you should be surfing with a VPN because VPNs effectively mask your IP address, and you need your IP address masked. Otherwise, everyone knows exactly where you are. The governments know where you are. Everyone knows where you are. Also, I mean, just a little anecdote is that you can actually use a VPN to watch video content or to get onto sites that you can't access from your country. All you do is you go to NordVPN, sign up now. You'll pay less than $3 a month to protect yourself and protect your crypto. And then on top of that, you will get an extra 4 months free, which is like absolutely crazy. So sign up now. Here's the link below. When you do that, you are protecting yourself and you're also supporting our channel. Also, guys, if you haven't already liked this video, like this video. It's one of the best videos I've ever done. As I mentioned, I haven't spoken to 𝗏𝗪 for a long time. And so, yeah, let's get the man of the moment onto the show. 𝗏𝗪, how are you, my friend? You've been really busy, right?
Ram, good morning. Pleasure to be back on the show. It's been a little too long. Yeah, I've been pretty busy recently.
Making waves, and I guess you've always been making waves, but I guess the last wave is this digital asset treasury company that you guys launched. I think that's probably a good place to start. I know at one stage you weren't that bullish on treasury companies. You were like, I think at one stage you were, maybe a little bit more than skeptical on treasury companies. What actually changed your mind? Like, what happened? When did you turn from being a skeptic to being someone who actually would go as far as to chair one of them?
Yeah, you have to just think a little bit more and more about the opportunity and what it represents. And, my first understanding of the simplistic understanding, and I think it's probably the understanding that most people have, which is just seeing financial engineering. And that, wasn't particularly exciting to me. As I kind of thought about it more and more, and look, a bunch of people called me and encouraged me to do this, I started to pause and reflect, and I realized there's a handful of things that are pretty unique about the opportunity for Forward Industries, which is the new company that I'm the chair of. I think there's a few I'll highlight here. The first is that, SEC Chair Paul Atkins gave a speech to the 4,000 employees at the SEC about 6 or 7 weeks ago. The speech is called Project Crypto. The full text is on the website. Just Google SEC Project Crypto. You can read the full text. It's a short read. And in that speech, he told all of the SEC employees, we need to move U.S. security markets on chain. And I've been thinking about, well, what is it going to take for that to happen? And it requires, by definition, engagement from a bunch of different heterogeneous stakeholders. Obviously, NASDAQ and NYSE, but it's going to require the DTCC. It's going to require all the banks. And it's probably going to require the companies themselves, like Apple, Google, NVIDIA, et cetera, all those guys. And I kind of thought, I was like, it's going to be very hard to just get all of these entities to coordinate and move to trying to fulfill the vision of Project Crypto. There's just obviously a lot of inertia in the status quo. And I kind of recognize that, coming into the role that I'm in now as chairman of Forward Industries, we have an opportunity to actually accelerate Project Crypto on Solana. We aim to be the most natively on-chain, publicly traded company in the world. And that'll be a slow process. It's going to take a while. I can't commit to a timeline, but I think you can think about what that means in two buckets. The first bucket would be bringing our capital markets operations on chain. Step one of that is tokenizing the equity of Forward Industries. Our ticker is Ford, F-O-R-D. Yes, it's like the car company. So we need to bring Ford natively on chain onto Solana. I'm pretty excited about that. I think we'll have stuff to share pretty soon on that front. Once we have Ford natively on chain, then we can start to do a bunch of cool things. We could fundraise natively on chain. We could do dividends on chain. We could do shareholder governance on chain. All of these different kinds of things. And then the second kind of major category of operations would be actually the core business operations themselves. That would start with obviously buying SOL, which, by the way, the first thing we did after closing the investment last week is we bought $1 million market order of Solana using USDC natively on chain. We tweeted the transaction ID. It's all public.
Yeah, I was actually just looking for that.
Yeah, so to our knowledge, we're the first publicly traded company to execute an on-chain buy. But beyond that, we want to eventually run payroll on chain. We want to pay our service providers and our vendors on chain. We want to prove that you can run a publicly traded company, both core business operations as well as capital markets operations, natively on a blockchain. And if you think about it, like, who else is going to do all that? And it's kind of like, yeah, it's got to be us. And so when I had that realization, that was a big kind of a light bulb moment for me that, hey, we need to get in the seat and in the driver's seat and do this. So I think that was one very important motivation for us to do this. I think the second opportunity was recognizing that as a publicly traded company, we can actually do things that an ETF cannot. I believe we're going to have Solana staking ETFs in the very near future. But there's actually a lot we can do above and beyond that. The most interesting kind of ways we can do things there are we can borrow dollars from banks or other lenders. And I think we can deploy those dollars on chain into Solana native dollar denominated DeFi and earn the credit spread. And I think obviously an ETF is never going to do that. And so I think that's a very compelling value proposition for shareholders. We, moreover, given our scale, we are today the largest Solana DAT in the world by a pretty wide margin. Given our scale, our relationships, our brand, I'm optimistic we're going to be able to strike lots of compelling deals with DeFi teams to obviously bootstrap liquidity in their systems, but then also earn incremental yield above and beyond that. So when I kind of realized as a mission level, the opportunity, as well as at a financial level, what I can do just beyond financial engineering, I kind of realized this is actually a very compelling opportunity to really build the future. And so that's why we're doing Forward Industries.
So are you bullish Forward Industries or are you bullish DATs? Because I mean, you're obviously watching all the activity from all the other DATs. Has this changed your view on DATs, or do you think that you guys have come in with a really unique approach?
Yeah, I don't really follow the competition that closely. I'm focused mostly on executing for our shareholders. And my views on DATs generally, I don't think have changed. The DAT that I'm most qualified to render judgment on is, of course, my own. And I obviously know a lot about what we're going to do, and so I'm very excited about it.
And what is 𝗏𝗏's role in this DAT? Because you guys have established what you've called the dream team. You've got Galaxy, you've got Jump, you've also got a very, very big and thriving VC business in Multicoin Capital. So, I mean, the question is what is the day-to-day role that Kyle actually fulfills at the DAT, and what's left to the rest of the team?
Yeah, so Forward Industries is a publicly traded company. It's been around for a number of years, I think 20 years or something. And their existing line of business is like a design business on certain kinds of goods for industrial medical equipment, stuff like that. That business is remaining untouched. It'll continue doing what it's been doing. The current CEO, his name is 𝗏𝗏. He will continue to run that business. We now, in addition to that business, also have this balance sheet business, which is the Solana treasury strategy. We think, and I think the rest of the Forward Industry team as well thinks, that it probably makes sense to have a separate management team that is focused on the digital asset treasury. Those two business lines don't have a ton of overlap. So we are now recruiting for kind of all the roles you need to run the treasury side of the business. And it is my top priority to help recruit that management team. And I'm very much in the thick of that now. Looking for kind of all the senior roles you would expect for a company like this. So that's, and as obviously the team ramps up, that'll reduce my responsibilities. In the very near term, Forward Industries contracted with 𝗪𝗪𝗪 Asset Management for actually doing all of the execution on chain. So, we announced a few days ago that we've acquired 6.8 million SOL tokens. The 𝗪𝗪𝗪 Asset Management team are the ones who actually, clicked all the buttons and did all the trading as a fiduciary on behalf of Forward Industries. And they'll continue to handle that. I'm not holding private keys. I'm not clicking any trading buttons here. The kind of three sponsor groups collectively, Multicoin, Jump, and 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, are collectively now running the process of recruiting that management team and getting that infrastructure in place so that Forward Industry can kind of fully run on its own for this new part of its business.
So you're not going to fulfill a day-to-day role at Forward Industries. You really are taking the role of like a executive/non-executive chairman, where you're more a guide because you probably know Solana better than most people out there, and probably you're fulfilling a chairman role as opposed to an operational day-to-day role.
That's correct. Yes, my title is chairman, and that is very much what I will be.
So who will be the person that runs the day-to-day operations? Who would be acting as, you want to call it, the CEO or the MD of this entity? Is he a Jump guy? Is he a 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 guy?
We're recruiting for that role amongst a number of others right now.
Okay, amazing. And let's talk a little bit about, you're very much Solana focused at Multicoin. People are almost saying that Michael Saylor has become the face of Bitcoin, Tommy Lee's become the face of ETH, and you've become the face of Sol, which is kind of ironic because it's like Satoshi, Vitalik, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And now you've got like a new generation who are becoming the faces of the protocol. Are you generally bullish about any other L1s, or is your focus still very much a Solana focus?
All in Solana. It's that simple. We believe that Solana is the home of internet capital markets. Solana today is the most performant blockchain. It has the most users, the most trading volumes. The applications on Solana produce the most revenue. Capital turns over on Solana at a higher rate than on any other chain. And it's obviously a global, permissionless, credibly neutral infrastructure layer. They are doing incredible things on both the trading side and the payment side. We think Solana is today the best positioned infrastructure to power global internet capital markets, and we are absolutely all in Solana.
So when you say to power global internet capital markets, what about things like, for example, AI or things that are not internet capital market specific in nature? Does that mean that you believe that Solana can handle that as well? Or does that mean that you guys are just focused on one narrative, which is internet capital markets, and not looking at AI and not looking at anything else?
Oh, no, at Multicoin, we certainly have looked at a lot of things in the AI kind of crossover to crypto. And look, we led the seed round in IONET at Multicoin. Today, they're doing, I think, 40-50 million annualized revenue for their GPU marketplace. All of the payments, everything is powered over on Solana. So we very much see opportunities for the crossover. There's also a bunch of very smart people today working on various kinds of AI trading bots and agents that trade natively on chain. In our assessment, the substantial majority of those are building actually on Solana as opposed to other chains. So we very much believe that AI is aligned with this vision of internet capital markets. What the blockchain is just the layer for moving the money around in the trading. And the AI can act on either on potentially on its own accord or on behalf of someone else. And we believe that the vast majority of AI trading activity is going to take place on Solana.
So you're fully Solana focused, and I think you've been pretty vocal about how ETH isn't the right chain. I think I don't know how to say it in a politically correct manner. And I think you said that you were open to debating Tom Lee on ETH. Is your view really? I mean, Wall Street seems to have like woken up to ETH now. ETH is now the Wall Street second best asset. Is your view that ETH? You were quite critical about how ETH doesn't really have a future. Is that still your view, or are you starting to warm up to ETH now that ETH has layer 2s and you've got a good proof of concept on base and stuff like that? What's your ETH thesis?
I think it's important to frame things correctly. I don't think Wall Street has woken up to Ethereum. I think Tom Lee talked about Ethereum a lot for 60 days and bought a lot of ETH. I wouldn't read much beyond that. I think it's a very strong stretch to suggest that beyond that. Anyone, people who work in finance understand that finance operates at scale. All the big banks obviously operate at scale. All the big trading firms operate at scale. And all of them know that 20 transactions per second, which is the approximate capacity of Ethereum, is not going to cut it. Like, it's not even worthy of debating if it's going to cut it, because it's just intuitive that it's not going to work. You're so many orders of magnitude off of what you need. Ethereum is where it is because it was first, and there's a lot of inertia. But Ethereum does not have the technical infrastructure to power internet capital markets. Full stop.
What about L2s? What about L2s? I mean, there's L2s, which
great for L2s. L2s have basically nothing to do with Ethereum. I mean, like, L2s capture 98, 99% of the value whenever a user trades on Base or Arbitrum or whatever it is. It doesn't have anything to do with Ethereum. So good for Coinbase. I've actually tweeted many times, quote, "The future of Ethereum is Coinbase." I stand by that. I probably tweeted that for the first time probably 18 months ago. And yeah, 18 months later, I think that assessment was pretty spot on.
And what about, you look at Robinhood. Robinhood built on top of Arbitrum. So why do you think that they didn't choose Solana, for example? Why do you think that they went directly for an ETH L2?
It's not my place to speculate on management decisions from another company. But look, I'll say this: they haven't proven anything yet, and they haven't shipped. And look, on Solana today, you have multiple iterations of both wrapped stocks, meaning X stocks, as well as natively issued stocks via Superstate. So whatever they've chosen to do, they are further behind than where they could otherwise be.
Got it. Carl, when you made the announcement, or when the initial announcement on the DAT actually came out, one of the things that I noticed in this announcement, which seemed to stick out, was you spoke about angel investors. And a lot of the angel investors seem to be guys or teams that are associated with Solana or building stuff on Solana. So you mentioned Cindy from Drift, you mentioned Guy from Athena, 𝗙𝗘𝗏, you mentioned Lucas from 𝗙𝗘𝗏. Kind of interested to know if we should read into that in terms of the protocols that are going to be used by Forward Industries, or, I almost think that they must have been rallied because at some stage you had a strategy in terms of the execution on their protocols. Is that, am I looking too deep into the writing here?
I think you're trying to read the tea leaves a little too much. Look, we are obviously a very large holder of SOL. We own 6.8 million SOL. And we're going to be deploying that across Solana DeFi. And we obviously know everybody, and we generally intend to work with folks that are proven and established. I don't think we're going to be YOLOing capital into a new protocol that launched yesterday, but we certainly are going to work with the people who have established themselves and who we believe are going to help build the future of Solana.
And are there any protocols that you can talk about now that you think could actually benefit from this? Like, I mean, I think you've tweeted a little bit about, or you've responded to tweets about Drift potentially benefiting from all of this. Like, what protocols would you believe? And I know some of them you're holders of and some of them you're potentially not holders of in your Multicoin, on your Multicoin side. But just trying to get a feel for like how you see, you must have a vision for that to support your portfolio companies or other companies building on Sol. Maybe give us a couple of examples of how Forward Industries will utilize the Sol ecosystem, whether you're invested or not invested, and who could benefit.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think all of Solana benefits. At the end of the day, the internet capital markets on Solana are, it's not like you have isolated little bubbles of activity. Everything in the financial market ties together. Leverage, rates, prices, like all of these things are all intertwined across all these protocols. And so we very much look at our role as injecting a lot of liquidity across the Solana DeFi ecosystem. And that's going to have positive effects on, I think, more or less everybody, which we're very excited about. I can't comment on, specifically who we're talking to or what we're trying to do. I think you'll probably see more from us on that front pretty soon. But look, we understand what's proven. We understand what's already off the ground, that liquidity begets more liquidity, and we're going to deploy the capital accordingly.
Okay, so I saw an announcement today that there was another 4 billion at the market equity raise happening at the moment. Kind of wondering, like, what is the 4 billion for? Is this 4 billion at the market to buy more Solana? Is this 4 billion to buy other DATs? What are you guys thinking to do with this 4 billion?
I don't think, to the extent I've talked about M&A in some other podcasts recently, and to the extent we do M&A, it's probably more likely to be equity-based rather than cash-based. So I don't think we'll use much of the proceeds for that. Again, I could be wrong, but current thinking. We'll obviously see how those negotiations go, and those will all be bespoke negotiations. I think it's reasonable to believe that the money we raise from at-the-money offerings will be used to buy SOL, and some combination of liquid SOL and locked SOL.
So in that vein, how do you see the other DAT companies that have launched? Pantera has launched a DAT company. They initially announced they raised 500 million, or they're raising 500 million. How do you see that? Do you see that as competition, or do you see that as complementary? Because you're both supporting, ultimately you're two separate companies competing for shareholder money, but at the same time you're supporting a joint common ecosystem. Do you see them as friend or foe?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of co-opetition, right? And look, I appreciate competition. Competition makes everyone a little better. I compete vigorously against some of the smartest investors in the world in my role at Multicoin. And I'm competing against other very smart people now in digital asset treasuries. And I think that's healthy and positive, and ultimately will be net positive for forward industry shareholders in the long run, because it's going to force us to stay on our toes. I think the other element of this that's probably a little more nuanced is Solana is a global permissionless system, and Bitcoin, Jump, and Galaxy, very US companies and entities. And we obviously have deep ties in US regulatory markets. I'm literally in Washington, D.C. right now. I met with Speaker Johnson yesterday on a number of issues, meeting with a few other folks today. And the folks and so we have influence and understanding of the regulatory system in the United States. I have minimal, if any, understanding of the regulatory regime in Europe or in the Middle East or in Asia. And even if I wanted to become an expert in those various places, I think as a practical matter, I just can't, as a function of time. And like, obviously I'm not from those places, and that's pretty clear that I'd be a tourist in those environments. And so given that reality, I think it's actually accretive to Solana as a whole to have digital asset treasury companies of scale and of legitimacy in these various jurisdictions. That I think is probably good for Solana in the long run. So I'm excited for the vehicle that Pantera just launched with their partner is Summer Capital. Summer Capital is a pretty large firm based out of Asia. And my understanding is that they are generally intending to do most of their capital markets focused in Asia. And I think from a regulatory engagement side, I believe they're also going to be focusing there as well. So good for them and great for Solana.
Did you guys ever engage with Pantera to maybe join your DAT? I mean, was it ever a discussion?
Look, we obviously know each other. I've known Paul and Dan and the Pantera team for many, many years, and they know me. We never seriously discussed combining forces. I think we both kind of all understood, like, hey, we're moving in different directions, but we have done what we can for each other to support one another in the background. And look, we're good friends, and we're all here to win together. It's very silly to think about this in a fixed sum lens.
If we look like 5 years forward in this DAT landscape, and I know 5 years in crypto and in digital asset treasuries is like a lifetime away, but let's try and look forward. And the reason why I'm asking this is because if we look at the 𝗙𝗍𝗪 playbook, the 𝗙𝗍𝗪 playbook was initially started through raising debt or fixed income. Then we moved into issuing new share classes. And ultimately, all that digital asset treasury company does is hold Bitcoin. They do nothing else. Yes, they've got a small software business on the side, but it's a Bitcoin company. I'm wondering how you see the roadmap or how you see this company in 5 years. Like, if we talk again in 5 years, what does this company actually do? What's on its balance sheet? Is it staking? Is it running validators? What does it actually do?
So Forward Industries is already running validators today. And it is obviously staking today as well. So we don't have to think that far in the future. Those are today items. What does this company look like in 5 years' time? I think the correct understanding of Forward in 5 years is that it is a publicly traded permanent capital vehicle that hopefully has a very large balance sheet, and that it is one of the most active investors and holding companies in the world in crypto. Much in the same way that Berkshire Hathaway is, one of the largest holding companies in the world in equities markets. I am optimistic that, and I intend to build Forward Industries into that kind of equivalent for crypto markets.
Do you see it almost as the equivalent of the foundation, but the foundation was set as a non-profit vehicle to support the chain, in the days when we had regulatory uncertainty? Do you think now with regulatory certainty, this becomes almost like a off-chain foundation, so to speak? I don't know if the right word is off-chain foundation, but it's almost like a foundation which is designed to grow Solana by investing in projects that grow on Solana and utilizing and bringing in capital. Is that a good comparison?
Yeah, you're not the first person to flag this to me, and I think there is some valid thinking there. Being a Swiss nonprofit, the Solana Foundation is a Swiss nonprofit, and I think that was important for and it is, again, because Solana is a global, credibly neutral piece of infrastructure. And Switzerland is literally most famous for being like the neutral country, right? So I think it's quite apt. And I think the folks at the Solana Foundation have done a very good job of fulfilling that role as ecosystem stewards. We don't have that constraint. We are unabashedly capitalist. We are unabashedly American. And we intend to capitalize on that to maximize long-term growth and value for our shareholders and to accelerate the growth of the Solana ecosystem.
So it's a capitalistic foundation, basically, if you think about it. It's designed to support the chain.
I would say it's a company, not a foundation.
It's a company.
Yeah, it's a very much capitalist company.
I want to talk to you. You mentioned that you're in Washington, right? And that if I follow your journey, it's been, I don't know if it's been by design or if it's been just serendipity, but I know one of your original investors in Multicoin was David Sachs and Chamath, and the all-in guys actually mentioned it publicly on one of their shows. And then, fast forward a few years later, you guys are in Washington rallying for policy. And at the same time, David Sachs gets into Washington somehow. Was that like kind of by design? Did you know that at some stage you were going to influence policy, or is that just how the dominoes fell?
I never thought that I would be involved in DC in the way that we are today. Certainly when we started the firm, we didn't even have the aspirations to do this. And even as far back as 22 and 23, just a couple of years ago, I would say we were pretty reticent to get involved. I'm very fortunate to I've known David Sacks for a very long time. As you noted, David was one of our first investors via his venture firm, Craft Ventures. And about probably in early 24, he called me and said, "Hey, I'm hosting a fundraiser for President Trump at my house. Would you like to attend?" And I thought about it and I said, "You know what? Let's do it. Let's dip our toes in the water and see what happens here."
Before that,
and that was the first domino.
Before that, you were very much averse to politics. Like before that, you shied away from politics, right?
Correct. I mean, we had done a handful of smaller fundraisers and such for some members of Congress, but we hadn't certainly engaged with any substantial dollar scale or in a kind of a prominent lens. And that was for us the kind of starting point. And as I realized, kind of coming out of that event, the opportunity, I was like, this is a big swing. We should take it. And look, obviously there was kind of sort of I just assume presidential elections are 50-50 for simplicity. I was like, well, there's a 50% chance it's all a waste and goes nowhere. And there's a 50% chance that it won't. And we were like, we're in the business of taking risk. So we said, let's swing. And obviously we got a little lucky. President Trump and his team did a phenomenal job. And we are very blessed now to be working with folks across the administration, the White House and Congress to further the objectives of not only all of crypto, but for Solana and internet capital markets.
So what does that actually look like? I know you say like you're lucky to work with him, but what does it look like? Here you are, you're wearing a collared shirt, you're in Washington. Like, what does this mean? How often are you doing? Who are you speaking to? What are you guys talking about? How quickly are they implementing?
I mean, look, the U.S. federal government's a big place, and I can't say things move quite as fast as I would like them to. But look, we're meeting with kind of everyone across all branches. Yesterday, I was in the Capitol with Speaker Johnson, and we also had a number of other prominent folks there. Chair French Hill was there of House Financial Services. A number of other folks, 𝗬𝗵𝗆𝗪. So those are obviously some of the leading folks in Congress. Today, I have some private meetings with some other members of Congress. Last time I was here, I was meeting with the SEC and the CFTC. I'll probably be back again in a few weeks for some other stuff.
What are you talking about?
So,
what do you talk about? Like when you meet these guys, what are you talking about? Like, you're talking about putting securities on Solana and what the roadblocks are? Are you talking about, hey, we need you guys to go easy on stable coins? I'm trying to get a feel for like what the agenda is when you guys meet these politicians.
I'll give you an example. So I was with Speaker Johnson yesterday, and he said he's very concerned about China's influence in crypto because he understands that crypto systems are permissionless, that anyone in the world can show up and participate in these systems. Obviously, China famously had a bunch of Bitcoin mining. They kicked out all the Bitcoin miners. Today, the majority of them are in the United States now, and actually in Texas, which is my home state. So there's a pretty strong American control over Bitcoin today via that mechanism. The obviously kind of counterpart to that in proof of stake systems is stake distribution and staking. And there's a number of big open tax questions right now about how the IRS should be treating tokens that come from staking. And there's two components of that: block rewards, meaning newly created tokens, and then transaction fees, right? So when other people use Solana, they pay a transaction fee to use the system. Those fees. And there's a number of interesting open questions about how you should treat those from a tax perspective. But the thing that I wanted to emphasize to Speaker Johnson is, as a matter of U.S. national interest, we want to have more stake in the United States because that impacts consensus and governance over the Solana network. And if we were to do more onerous or more complex or more tax disadvantaged policies around how to treat these various activities, that could be bad for the percentage of stake that's in the U.S. And he said, Kyle, thanks for sharing that. I didn't appreciate that nuance of how these networks work. Thank you. And then he connected me to the right kind of staff to follow up with on the kind of like the specific details and the language and such. So like that's the kind of stuff that we do as just one fun example.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it sounds like a lot of thinking and a lot of time gets taken, a lot of brain power gets taken, a lot of energy gets taken to get these policies across. But it sounds like you're out there doing a job and you're fighting for the greater good of this blockchain movement. And without people like you, it wouldn't happen. But then that begs me to the question, you guys are a powerhouse fund. I mean, probably the most successful fund, definitely in crypto, but I think the most successful fund or fund management company in crypto. What about the inside workings? I mean, have you guys split the roles? Are you more outside? And I don't see 𝗬𝗪 very much. I don't see 𝗬𝗪 wearing very many collared shirts and jackets. Have you guys split the roles internally, or how does it work?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, for a very long time, actually, that's kind of how it's roughly been. I've been always the more extroverted one and the more external facing one. And so it's just kind of a nice split where I can be on the road, go do these things, and 𝗬𝗪 can keep the trains running on time and actually run the company.
And how do you feel about, like, do you feel that maybe you're more out of touch with the inner workings of blockchains and trends on the blockchain? Because I find that the more time I spend out of the investment fund that we have, and the more time that I spend outside the company, the more my knowledge and my intrigue, because making an investment decision is around knowing that one little thing that somebody else doesn't know, right? It's not a broad thing. It's about becoming the best. Do you sometimes feel that you're maybe losing touch with who the best companies are, what the best technologies are, etc.?
I mean, look, there's a balance between these things, and we try and do our best to manage that. I'm very fortunate that the rest of our investment team is shielded from all of the stuff that I'm doing in DC. And so those guys, they don't have to fundraise, they don't have to deal with legal, they don't have to deal with DC and all these other things. And so we have our guys in the weeds, on the ground and everything. And we have an investment committee twice a week. And we're reading memos and constantly discussing new ideas there to make sure that I can stay up to speed.
How many hours a day are you working at the moment?
Yesterday, I was working I woke up at 5 to catch a flight. I was probably working by 6 on my phone, and I worked basically every moment until I went to bed at about 11:30 last night.
And is this like every day, or is this like are they? I mean, you're getting married soon. Like, how does the wife feel about this?
Not every day. No, it's not every day. But look, obviously on a travel day, it's usually going to be heavier like that. But look, my fiance and I have a great understanding about the demands of my job. She's very supportive of that, and she's excited and happy for me. And she knows that what I'm doing is pretty unique and one of one. And not many people get to be in the position I'm in. And so she's understanding of that. We've found a pretty healthy way to balance things out. And look, she's also very career oriented herself. And so, my time spent working also creates space for her to focus on her career too. So it can work very well. And we are fortunate to have the help we need to just like run our lives outside of work.
That's amazing. I heard when you went on the Thread Guys podcast, you mentioned that the reason why you do this is because there's a job to be done and you guys need to get the job done. I'm interested, like I've obviously followed you guys from the very first night that I think, Multicoin came about in that hotel room. I don't know if you remember that night that we all met. And that was really the beginning of Multicoin. How far in your journey do you think you are? Like, I know you've achieved a lot and I've been watching from the sidelines, and like what you guys have achieved has been both from a business point of view and from a personal point of view. What you guys have achieved is absolutely, absolutely insane. I don't think there's anyone that's even come close. I'm kind of wondering, in Kārl's head, Kārl's psyche, how far along the journey are you? If the journey was, say, 100, are you in the first 20 miles? Where are you in this journey?
I mean, I don't really think about the finish line, so I don't think it's a valid question. And look, yeah, the job will at some point be done for internet capital markets. But that doesn't mean that the Multicoin is done or the 𝗘𝗏 is done. Multicoin will evolve. We have evolved, we should evolve, and we'll figure out what we need to go do as the market evolves.
And is the obsession?
So I would just say, it's just like, look, we have the platform to do a lot of great work. It's fun. and like, let's go knock it out of the park. Right now, we have a very clear focus, and I think that focus is going to keep me busy for many more years. I don't think I'm finishing the job next year. So, for now, don't need to think too hard about what's beyond that.
And is the obsession now internet capital markets? Is that is that what you guys are after at the moment?
Yes. I mean, it's so clear to me now. I mean, when Anatoly first pitched me on Solana back in early 2018, he called it decentralized NASDAQ. And at the time, I think that was the best language that we had to try and describe what he wanted Solana to be. This term internet capital markets, I think of as really just the spiritual successor to that term. Decentralized NASDAQ is kind of by definition a very backwards facing statement. You're referencing this literally legacy tech company that we're like trying to disrupt, right? And I think internet capital markets is the more optimistic, imaginative, and actually much grander vision for what Solana can and should be. And that is absolutely the focus, all things Multicoin.
How do you define it? What is internet capital markets like?
Yeah, at the simplest level, internet capital markets are just having one global ledger that is permissionless, programmable, 24/7, secured by cryptography. And what that would mean is that any one person who has a phone and an internet connection can trade any asset at any time across any software interface. Meaning, you could trade across something that looks like Phantom, or you could trade across something that looks like Robinhood, or you could trade on a Telegram bot. Or if you're reading the Wall Street Journal and there's an article about interest rates, and there's a prediction market, about is the Fed going to cut rates, then you should be able to bet on the interest rates directly from the Wall Street Journal. You shouldn't have to leave the journal to go make that trade. That is the future of internet capital markets, is having finance embedded and money embedded across all of software in ways that were never before possible. If you think about the internet, very intuitively, the internet is 24/7 and permissionless, and you have all these fun apps, and you have APIs, right? And all these different internet services connect to each other. And like, this is all stuff we take for granted, right? Today, everybody. And finance has always been so regulated and has all these bespoke systems on a country by country basis, right? It's also regional. It's not even like there's a global system. And because of that, and all of these regulations around brokers and all this other stuff, you've never had the interacting with the financial system has never felt like just writing an API for an open source piece of software. And crypto makes finance just a nice API, open source software. And so because of that, I think we're about to see an explosion in how finance is embedded across many new pieces of software where finance previously did not exist.
So if I'm reading between the lines here, then like you're talking about token creation as one meta, you're talking about trading. And when you say trading, not trading like, hit the bid, hit the sell, but I mean, you mentioned Tinder style trading and grid style trading and stuff like that. So what are the other elements? One of them is token creation. I think Pump we'll talk about Pump in a sec, but Pump's obviously, I think, for now been the king of token creation. Then there's trading, and I think maybe trading right now, Hyperliquid is the best at the moment. I'm keen to hear your views there. What are the other metas?
I mean, payments is the other one, and then look, it's just getting dollars in the hands of 8 billion people. And I think there's a ton of incredible entrepreneurs today building on Solana, trying to get dollars in the hands of billions of people.
And just when you say getting dollars in the hands of billions of people without mentioning projects, if you don't want to, or if you want to mention projects, feel free to do it. But like, what do you mean? Like, what do you think are good ways to get dollars into the hands of 8 billion people?
Yeah, so we're investors in a handful of companies that run peer-to-peer exchanges. And these P2P exchanges, one in Latin America called 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏. There's another one based out of India called P2P. And these exchanges are a way to convert fiat in these local countries into either stables or Bitcoin or whatever without going through a central intermediary. Look, Binance P2P is known to be very popular. But Binance P2P is quite frankly a pretty subpar product, and we believe that with some combination of advanced cryptography and AI, you can build large scale P2P systems that bridge fiat and crypto that will guarantee that no matter what a government says, you'll still be able to convert local fiat into Bitcoin or stablecoins. That's the kind of thing that we think is critical for getting dollars into the hands of 8 billion people.
So it's effectively onboarding. It's effectively onboarding people. It's the bridge between traditional finance, so Web 2 and Web 3, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about token issuance and token trading. So, I mean, Pump. Are you guys invested in Pump? Is it public? I mean, are you guys publicly invested? Not invested in Pump?
We do not own any Pump tokens at the moment.
And when you watch from the sidelines, do you think that Pump's done a good job of token issuance or teaching people, allowing people to launch tokens? How do you feel when you look at Pump? Like success, not success?
I mean, objectively, they're wildly successful. Pump has caught lightning in a bottle at least once, meaning they figured out permissionless asset creation. And that was a big unlock. Turns out a lot of people want to play around with that idea and run a lot of experiments. And Pump captured that. Unclear if they'll sustain it. I'm not saying they're going to hold that crown in 24 months, but clearly today they're top dog, and full credit to them. They kind of invented it and pioneered it. They're trying to catch lightning in a bottle now a second time via their live stream product. And it seems like it's kind of having its moment right now. Certainly the last, call it 4, 5, 6 days, there's been a flurry of activity there. And there's been a handful of very prominent streamers and a number of high profile creators from, I think, Rumble and Twitch and some other places have been on Pump experimenting. I'd say it's probably a little too early to say that definitively the live stream product has found product market fit.
When you look at the live stream product, if someone approached you with that live streaming product in its current state, if they approached you now and said, "Look, this is our live streaming product," would you back it, or do you think there's flaws in the current product?
Look, judging consumer products is you can't be too prescriptive on what you think exactly is right or wrong. There is a lot of experimentation that goes into getting all of the subtleties just right. The Pump team clearly have a very good understanding of their users, and they know how to run experiments and iterate very quickly. They do that better than probably any team in crypto. And I would say that the current product as it stands today, September 17th, 2025, probably hasn't quite cracked it yet, but there's totally a case to be made that they're going to crack it in the very near future. I certainly would not bet against this team. They know what they're doing. As
a question, why didn't you back the team? I mean, I'm sure you had many opportunities. I'm sure they approached you multiple times for some kind of investment. And beyond that, there was the $4 billion round that everybody could have participated in. Kind of interested to know why you guys didn't invest in them.
I mean, look, there wasn't that many times to invest. Pump did not. They raised a seed round. That was it. Way back in the day. And look, everything is valuation adjusted.
Did that seed round come onto your desk or not?
We spoke with them at the time. This was like before they even launched the Launchpad product. So we just missed it.
Okay. Another one that you've been kind of vocal about is Hyperliquid. So kind of keen to hear your views on Hyperliquid. They seem to be the most successful DEX or decentralized perpetuals exchange. Kind of keen to hear your views and what you think of Hype and what they're doing.
I think you're miscategorizing Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid is a centralized exchange. It nominally has a handful of characteristics that make it look pseudo decentralized, but make no mistake about it, there's nothing decentralized about the system. They have built a great centralized exchange. They are getting Binance to run for their money, and they're doing a very good job at it. And like, good for them. Hard to find it interesting. Like that's not why I'm in crypto. And look, to be fair, Multicoin invested in Binance and BNB all the way back in 2019. We wrote, at the time, it was a very well-known piece on BNB. But like the market's evolved and our expectations have evolved on what these things should do. And Hyperliquid I find to be very backwards looking.
What are their weaknesses? What do you believe they haven't got right? You mentioned that they're very centralized, and I agree that they're very centralized, but don't most projects start off centralized and then decentralize over time?
Sure, but like look, Solana had the same criticisms obviously before from the Ethereum people, so I'm very, very well aware of this class of criticism. A Hyperliquid has done a number of things that, or I should say, is not doing a number of things that I think would be important if they were serious about trying to become a permissionless, credibly neutral system. They would be open source. They're not. They would provide a public roadmap about their scaling plan to decentralize. They haven't done that. All 24 validators are in one data center. Like it tells you what you need to know. They literally jail validators if their latency is too slow. The system is a fully permissioned system. And until they provide a detailed technical roadmap that explains how they're going to make it permissionless, at this point, and given the scale of the system, that's the other thing that's very hard to appreciate is like they have scale, obviously, and like people are hitting it. And so transitioning now is actually very, very difficult. Right, from at the current scale, from permissioned to permissionless. And the more scale they have, the harder that transition becomes. And then probably actually the best example, though, of like how they're not permissionless is this USDH governance thing that just happened over the last week or two.
It seemed rigged.
One of the, look, I'm not a Hyperliquid insider, obviously, but from what I can tell and from what I think is generally common knowledge, a very small cabal of folks, controlled everything. Comment A. Comment B, and this is probably actually the more important comment, is one of the contenders for the bid was PayPal and Venmo in collaboration with Paxos. And this insider cabal of 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 people, whoever it is, explicitly gave the middle finger to Paxos, Venmo, and PayPal. Right? They just threw them out in the street and laughed at them. And despite the fact that, by the way, I think most people would say the Paxos PayPal proposal was better than the native markets proposal. And obviously those guys are like not going to come back and do business with Hyperliquid anymore. But now also consider if you're Adyen, if you're Stripe, if you're Visa, if you're Square, like if you're any payments company, or for that matter, if you're Tether or any other stablecoin company, why would you want to do business with these people? This insider group of cabal just crowned their own little buddy friend as the victor and told everyone else to go fuck off. And so they have made the very explicit decision to not be a credibly neutral permissionless system. They were on a path even prior to this USDH vote to potentially get there, even despite not being open source and having this roadmap that I was just talking about. But now they've very explicitly told the outside world to go screw themselves.
But
meanwhile,
let me ask you a question. Surely it's easier for a centralized product that has product market fit and users to decentralize than it is to bet on a new participant being able to capture the same market share. Like, is that not am I seeing it wrong?
No, sorry. Yes, I mean, when you have scale, it's really, really hard to re-architect your entire system. I mean, look at this now with Google and AI. ChatGPT is at what, 800 million users or something like that. And Google has Gemini, and people agree the Gemini models are better than ChatGPT's models, but no one's using Gemini for their AI discussions. Everyone uses ChatGPT. Taking a business at scale and pivoting it is extraordinarily difficult and rarely done in history. Here, it's kind of the same problem. The entire Hyperliquid system is predicated on the fact that you have 24 validators who are all within 50 meters of each other. And like that makes it very easy for the system to work. But look, like that's just called Binance. It's the same thing. And look, Binance tried to do BNB, and like, yeah, they have BNB chain, but like no one, BNB chain is not Solana, it's not Ethereum, it's just not in the same realm. And you look at Coinbase tried to do Base, and the same thing. So I think you're giving a lot of credit, undeserved credit to these folks on this front. So decentralizing these things is really hard.
So who do you think wins in perpetualized DEXs? Like, have you seen a product in perps DEXs that you really think can take on the big boys?
Yeah, I am very confident you will have Solana-based perp DEXs running on Solana mainnet that are competitive with Hyperliquid in Q4.
Have you seen any of them now? Are there any ones that are on the market that we can go and mess around with and play around with? Is there anything that's like interesting?
As of right at this moment, we're not quite there yet, but I'm pretty optimistic in Q4 we're going to be there.
Is that a technological change just because you know that teams are building?
Yeah, I know what teams are building. And look, I understand the challenges that Solana-based perp DEX teams have faced historically. I know that a lot of the core Solana engineers are very well aware of those problems. There's a number of fixes in the works, and I'm optimistic you will see the result of that labor over the course of Q4.
And I mean, you guys publicly backed Drift as one of your portfolio companies. Do you think that Drift could be one of those companies?
Yes.
Guys, you heard it straight from the horse's mouth. All right, Carl, look, I'm cognizant of your time, and I'm cognizant that you need to be in Washington fighting a much bigger fight. First of all, thank you. It's been great having you back here, and speaking just generally getting your input on markets. Also, remarkable how far you've actually come from the first time that we met. As I told you in the room behind, in the pre-production room, I was like, having been someone who's been there from the beginning and watched your journey with 𝗂𝗏 and how you guys have panned out. Like, I sit here and I'm like, wow, you guys have got insane momentum, and it's just amazing to watch. So thank you very much, my friend.
Hey, Rand, thank you so much for having me here. It was a pleasure to talk multi-coin, crypto markets, and of course, all the work we're doing at Forward Industries. If y'all are excited about what we're doing, encourage you to try and help out in some way or get involved. And yeah, super excited about what's to come.
Thanks, my friend. Carl, just one question. You mentioned help, get involved. Like, what help do people like you need? Like, we've got a community. I think we have the biggest engaged community in crypto at the moment. Like, how can we help you? We're on the same mission. We're obviously big Solana bulls. Solana is my personal biggest holding position at the moment. Like, we're on the same trajectory. Just interested to know how we can help.
I think, look, we're hiring, and if you think you can be a value-add member of the team for Forward Industries, reach out. We don't have any job descriptions out there, but like, if you are smart and want to work with smart, capable people, then please reach out. We want to hire smart, capable people, obviously. And then look, I think the other area we need help in is just engaging with people around the world and telling the story of internet capital markets and Forward Industries. So if you have connections to major media outlets around the world, would appreciate those connections.
Amazing. Carl, thank you so much, my friend.
Hey, Rand, pleasure. Good to see you.
Good man. All right, chaps, that's Carl, and what an alpha-filled interview. And I think you should watch that one twice. That's one of the ones that you should really watch twice. And probably like the most incredible way to end the week. Slightly longer than I expected, but you know what? When alpha rains on you like that, you just stand underneath the bucket and you just catch the alpha, right, Harder? So that's pretty much what you do. Remember just a few things before we go. I'll be back on Monday with regular programming. Remember that if you want to get the OG Labs airdrop or the OG Labs 20,000, the Zero G Labs $20,000 prize, you need to open an account on Bybit or 𝗏𝗏. There's a link below. Use that link below. That ends sometime next week because their TGE is going to be sometime next week. I don't think I was supposed to say that. Okay, we can't cut it. It's done. It's done. Just okay. So the TGE is next week. So you've got until next week to actually do that sign up. Also, the Bitfund. Also hiring. We are looking for researchers, people that help us make investment decisions and people that help us create content for the show. So if you're one of those people that is completely obsessed with crypto, completely obsessed with narratives, has a technical understanding, you don't have to be a developer or a coder, but you need to know the difference between proof of work and proof of stake and how they work, etc., etc. And you want to be in a team that is winning, but also absolutely obsessed. Please, there's a link below. Fill in the questionnaire on the link below. That will get you into the process. And don't use ChatGPT or Grok or any of those to answer the questions, because the problem is that when you get the first interview, you look like an idiot. So we really are looking for people. I'm looking to hire 8 new researchers. We're expanding our team. We're getting into amazing projects like bot trading and stuff like that. And we need, like Carl said, we need competent people. So if you think that you want to be part of our winning team, there's a link below. Use that link. And yeah, we'll see you guys again on Monday. Until then, trade well, my friends.